Hey third graders, so you've made it through your first week of distance learning and now we're going to look at the second week, lesson 1. So hopefully last week you guys did a great job of giving me feedback. Hopefully this week you'll continue to do that and hopefully we won't have any problems with submitting like we did last week. Alright, so for your first lesson of this week, we're going to solve word problems with 2 steps. And some of them have more than 2 steps, but don't worry, we're going to work through it together and practice. This is actually review from Unit 4, which was quite a while ago, so it might be a little rusty, but we will continue to practice it because this is a skill that you'll use for the rest of your life. Alright, so at the end of this lesson, you will be able to say, I can solve word problems that involve 2 or more steps. And I can also assess reasonableness. Now, when you first hear assess reasonableness, you're probably thinking, what? But that's okay. We're going to look at it together and what that means later in the lesson. That'll be our second part. In today's lesson, we're going to break down word problems into easier steps. We're going to draw pictures of word problems to help us understand. We're going to solve the 2-step word problems, and then we'll also check the reasonableness of an estimate. Okay. So let's practice. Let's just get started right away. We'll read through the word problem. We'll do 2 where you just watch me and work through it together, but then I'll have a couple more practice ones where you need to pause the video, do it on your own, and then push play when you're ready. All right, let's look at the first one. Lily bought 36 pieces of fruit for her classmates. There are 16 apples, 12 bananas, and the rest are pears. How many pieces of fruit are pears? Okay, so in these problems where we have more than one step, I think a really important part is to ask yourself, okay, what do I need to do first? Now, I'm a very visual person, so I like to kind of see what's happening in the word problem, so I'm going to draw what's happening right now. Okay, so I know the total. I know that Lily brought 36 pieces in all. I'm going to put that at the top, that she has 36 pieces, and you guys will be happy to know I haven't gotten any better at drawing with a mouse, so it's still pretty painful. Hopefully we'll get better. 36 pieces of fruit, and then she has 3 different kinds, so I'm going to just draw, there's 3 different. There's 16 apples, so I'm going to go 16A, there's 12 bananas, and then I don't know how many pears she has, so I'm going to put just a P for pears. I don't know how many she has. Okay? So there's a couple different ways that you could do this, and we all have different strategies of how we could find the answer to this one. This is the one that first came to mind, but I'll do another strategy that maybe some of you are thinking. So I know that she has 16 apples, 12 bananas, and then the rest are pears. My first initial step is I'm going to add these together to see how many are not pears. Okay? So I'm going to add the apples and the bananas together to see how many pieces of those out of all the 36 pieces of fruit are not pears. Okay, so I'm adding them together. Add my ones first. 6 plus 2 is 8, and 10 plus 10 is 20. Okay, so I know that 28 of these pieces of fruit are apples and bananas, and then I know the rest of it is pears. Okay, so I actually could draw a math mountain now that I only have 2 different add-ins. Okay, I'm going to erase that. Now you don't have to erase yours, or this is just the way I'm thinking through it, but we'll look at another way too. So 36 total pieces of fruit. I know that 28 of them are apples and bananas, and the rest are pears. Well, last week we talked about if you have a math mountain and you know your total, but you're missing one of your add-ins, what are you doing? Right, so you're subtracting. So I could write an equation for this. I could write 28 apples and bananas plus however many pears I have will give me the 36 total pieces of fruit that Lily brought. Okay? Or another way I could rewrite this equation, I could say the 36 pieces of fruit minus the apples and bananas, will give me how many pears are left. And this one would be like our equation that would give us the answer, right? Because P is our answer, our total. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract 36 minus 28, and I'm only doing it up here because I'm running out of room. Okay, so don't worry about that. 36 minus 28, okay? 6 minus 8, I can't take 8 ones from 6 ones, so I need to go ungroup one of my 10s to get more of my ones, okay? So now I have 2 10s, and I'm going to give myself 10 more ones. 16 minus 8, well, that's a double. I know 8 plus 8 is 16. 8 ones. 2 10s minus 2 10s is 0 10s. So I know that there are 8 pairs in the total, okay? Let's just really quick look at another way, because some of you might have seen this in a totally different way, and that's okay. That's what I love about math, right? Is there's so many different ways to find the same answer. Okay, another way you could have done this is you could have said there's 36 pieces in all, 16 are apples, 12 are bananas, and the rest are pear. Some of you might think, okay, I'm going to take the 36 pieces of fruit and I'm going to get rid of the apples. I'm going to subtract the apples out. 6 minus 6 is 0. 30 minus 10 is 20. So I know now getting rid of, if I took the apples out of the basket, I have 20 left over. 20 are bananas and pears. Now I'm going to subtract those bananas and get rid of those. 20 minus the 12. 0 minus 2, I can't do it, right? I need to go borrow or unbreak. Now I have 10 ones minus 2 ones is 8 ones. 1 10 minus 1 10 is 0 tenths. So I still get 8 pairs. I get the exact same answer. This was just another way to find the answer. Some of you might have liked the first way I did it. Some of you might like the second way. Some of you might even have another way that you could do it in your head. That's okay. That's what's awesome about math. All right, let's go ahead and look at the next problem. So our answer for that one was Lily brought 8 pairs. And you could even check your answer by adding these all together. 8 pairs plus 12 bananas plus 16 apples should give you 36 pieces of fruit in all. All right, here's another one. This one's kind of tricky because we're used to those comparison problems and just answering it like that, but you got to really pay attention to the question in this one. Okay, there are 15 more boys than girls in the school band. There are 27 girls. Now it's how many students are in the band altogether. So it's not asking how many boys there are, it's asking about all of the students. So you need to ask yourself, if I'm going to figure out how many total students there are, what do I need to find first? Well, for this one, you need to figure out how many boys there are first, right? So I know there's 15 more boys than girls, okay? And there's 27 girls. I could draw comparison bars for this one if I wanted to. So let's draw our comparison bars, which we did last week in our lesson. Because it says more boys, so I know we're comparing two things. But then we have a second step because we have to find out how many kids there are altogether. Okay, first things first, I got to decide. So I drew my comparison bars. Now I have to decide who has the most and put their label by the biggest bar. There are 15 more boys than girls. So I know that there's more boys. I'm going to put B for boys. And then there's girls, okay? Now I'm just going to fill in what I know. There are 27 girls. So I'm going to put how many girls there are. And there's 15 more boys than girls, but I don't know how many boys I have yet. Okay? So we can think of this kind of as like looking like a math mountain. These two put together will give me my total, right? If I add 15 more boys than girls, so 15 plus the amount of girls will give me how many boys there are. So I'm going to add 27 plus 15, okay? So I'm going to add my ones. 7 plus 5 is 12. Carry my 1 into the tens place. 2 tens, 3 tens, 4 tens. There are 42 boys. Okay, but that's not what the question asked. The question didn't say how many boys are there. We just had to figure out how many boys first. The question asked how many students are there all together. Okay, so now I have to figure out how many kids there are all together. If there's 42 boys and 27 girls, now I have to solve how many kids there are all together. 42 boys plus those 27 girls will give me my total. Now, why don't I add 15 on there? I don't add 15 on there too because 15 is the difference between girls and boys. Okay? There was 15 more boys than girls, so we added 15 to 27 to get the total amount of boys. But 15 is the difference between the two. 27 is the girls, 42 is the boys. Hopefully that made sense. Make sure you comment on this if it didn't. So if you are confused right now, pause the video, write down your question, and then make sure you submit it when you fill out the form. If you don't even know what to ask, if you're so confused you don't know what to ask, just say, hey, Miss Cook, on the problem where you talked about more boys than girls, can you clarify what you meant? Or something like that, okay? Even if you're confused and don't know what to ask. Okay, let's keep going. So 7 ones plus 2 ones is 9 ones, and 4 tens plus 2 tens is 6 tens, okay? So there are 69 kids in all for the school band, okay? So that was 2 steps. I first had to figure out how many boys there were. Then I had to put boys and girls will give me all of the kids in all, okay? All right, let's do another one. Landon has a collection of sports cards. He has 13 baseball cards, 16 basketball cards, and 14 football cards. Landon sold 15 cards, and then he bought 17 hockey cards. Okay, so this has a lot of steps. What is the total number of cards that Landon has now? All right, I want you to pause the video here, try it on your own. Once you find your answer, push play. Go. All right, welcome back. Hopefully you have an answer, and this one has a ton of different ways you could find the answer. I'm going to just do one for the sake so that we're not doing this video for 2 hours, but I'm just going to do one that makes sense most to me. So I'm going to ask myself, what do I need to find out first? The first thing I want to figure out is how many cards Landon had to start with. So I'm going to add how many cards. He had 13, then he had 16, and then he had 14. Okay, so I'm going to add those all together. Okay, 3 plus 6 is 9. 9 plus 4 is 13. 3, carry my new 10. 1 10, 2 tens, 3 tens, 4 tens. So Landon started with 43 cards, but then he sold 15 cards and he bought 17 cards. Okay. Now you can do this in whichever order you want to. I'm going to just do it exactly how the story problem tells me to, okay? Again, there are so many different ways that you could solve this problem, so it would be cool to see what you guys all come up with. Okay, so he has 43 cards. If he sold 15 cards, I know that I'm subtracting because we're getting rid of those 15 cards, right? So he has those 43 cards he starts with, but then he sold 15 of them, so he got rid of 15. Now, I can't take 5 ones from 3 ones, so I have to go borrow 3 tens, give myself 10 ones. 13 minus 5 is 8. 3 tens minus 1 10 is 2 tens, okay? So after he sold his cards, he had 28, but then he bought 17 more. If he's buying 17 more cards, I know that I'm adding, right? Because he's getting more. He's getting 17 more cards, so I'm going to add 17 cards onto it. Okay, so I'm going to add those 17. 7 plus 8. The way I think of it is 7 plus 7 is 14, plus 1 more is 15. Carry my 1, 2, 3, 4 tens. Landon has 45 cards. Now, there's so many different ways you could have solved that. You could have, if he sold 15 and bought 17, you could say, oh, well, he only gained 2 more, so you could have just added 2 onto the 43. That's one quick way to do it. There's a lot of different ways you could do that. For the sake of not having this video be really long, though, I'm going to go ahead and go to the next problem. All right, Casey delivered 13 pizzas. Then she delivered 8 more pizzas. Emma delivered 6 more than Casey did. How many pizzas did Emma deliver? Okay, again, I want you to pause the video, try it yourself, and then when you're done trying it, push play. Go. All right, so let's try it on our own. Okay, or let's try it together. So she delivered 13, and then she delivered 8 more. If I ask myself, what do I need to figure out first? Well, I need to figure out how many Casey did in all, right? I want to know how many Casey did so then I can figure out how many Emma did. So I'm going to add Casey's 2 piles of pizzas. So she had 13 and then she had 8 more. So I'm going to add 13 plus the 8 more she did later. 8 plus 3, 8, 9, 10, 11, right? Counting on 3 more. Carry my 10 over. 1 10, 2 10s. So I know that Casey did 21 pizzas, okay? Now I'm going to keep reading. Emma delivered 6 more than Casey. If Emma did 6 more, who did the most? Emma, right? Emma did 6 more than Casey. So you could draw comparison bars for this, or you could just say 6 more than 21. I know that I'm adding, right? 21 plus the 6 more pizzas that Emma did. 6 plus 1 is 7. 2 plus nothing. 2 10s is... Okay, so 27 pizzas is how many Emma delivered. Okay, again, if any of these problems are confusing and you really don't know a specific question to ask, you could just say, hey, Miss Cook, the pizza problem was really confusing on the lesson. Okay, something like that. So make sure you write those down. Otherwise, you're going to forget it by the end of the video. Okay. So when you do your practice form, there will be problems like this that you will solve on your own to show me what you learned. Okay. All right, let's do another one. The 3rd grade class checked out 36 library books. 17 books were fiction. 10 are biographies, and some are science. How many books are science? Now this one is a lot like the Lily one with her fruit, okay? I'm a visual person, so I'm going to draw it. Oh, actually what I'm going to do is have you pause it and try it on your own and then push play when you have the answer. Go. All right, welcome back. So you've got your 36 library books. I know that 17 of them were fiction. 10 were biographies, and some of them were science. Again, there's a couple different ways you could solve this one. So for me, what always makes sense to me is I feel like adding these two together and then subtracting it from the total to find what's left over. Or you could take 36 minus 17, then whatever's left over minus the 10, and whatever you have left is how many are science. Tons of different ways you could do it. I'm going to add these two together. I'm going to add my fiction and my biographies together to see how many are left over to be science books. 17 fiction books plus 10 biography books. 7 plus 0 is 7, 1 10, 2 10s. So 27 of the books are fiction and biography. So like I was saying earlier, I could just redraw my math mountain if I want to, because now I only have 2 factors. Or 2 add-ins, sorry. So I've got 27 fiction and biographies, and the rest are science, okay? I can write that if I know my total and I'm missing an add-in, like we practiced last week. You're subtracting, right? 27 plus something will give me 36, or 36 minus 27 will give me the rest. So I'm going to do 36 minus the 27 will give me how many books are left over that are science. 6 minus 7, I can't do that, right? I need to go borrow 3 10s. I'm going to break it down to 2 10s, and then I'm going to give myself 10 ones. 16 minus 7 is 9. 2 10s minus 2 10s is nothing. So 9 of those books are science. Okay? A way you could check your answer is add them all together. 9 science books plus 10 biography books plus 17 fiction books will give you 36 books in all. If you do add those 3 numbers together and you didn't get 36, then you know you did something wrong and you'd have to go back and try it again. Okay? All right, now we're doing a brain break. So when we read Miss Agnes, you remember Boko was deaf and she learned sign language. So I found that video again, and we're going to do the sign language video together. All right.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you'd
Okay, so that was a quick brain break, and then I also want you to pause this video and do 10 jumping jacks and have a 15-second dance party. Go ahead and pause the video and push play when you're ready. All right, let's try the second part of the lesson. We're going to look at different word problems, and we're going to decide if the answer they gave us is reasonable or not reasonable. Now, reasonable, remember, means that it makes sense. So if we were to say, Miss Cook put 10 ice cubes in one glass and 20 ice cubes in the other, she must have put 60 ice cubes in all. Well, that answer isn't reasonable, right? 60 isn't anywhere close. If I had 10 and 20, I would have 30. So 60 is nowhere close to 30. That's what we're going to be doing in these next problems is we're going to be rounding, and we're going to see if the answer that they give us is reasonable or close to what the actual answer is. All right, so let's go ahead and try it. Angel counted 28 large dogs and 37 small dogs at the dog park. He said he saw 55 dogs in all. Is his answer reasonable? Why or why not? Okay, so Angel said he saw 28 large dogs and 37 small dogs. Instead of adding those two together and seeing if he's close, we're going to just really quickly just round them both to the nearest 10 and see if that's close to 55. If it's nowhere close to 55, then we would say no, his answer is not reasonable. Now, if we look at 28 first and we're rounding it to the nearest 10, we need to look at our ones place. Remember, it tells us if we're going up or down. So 28 is between 20 and 30. Hopefully you guys remember this. This was a while ago that we did this. Between 20 and 30. And if we look at the 8, that's bigger than 5. And 5, remember, is the halfway point. 28 is closer to 30 than it is to 20. Hopefully this is refreshing your memory a little bit. I don't want to make this video too long, so if you are having a really hard time with rounding, make sure you send me a message and I can help you personally, okay? So 28 is closer to 30, so we'll say he saw about 30 large dogs, and then let's round how many small dogs. 37, if we're rounding to the nearest 10, the two 10s it's between is 30 and 40, if you were to find that number on a number line, okay? So we're looking at this to tell us if we're going to go up or down. 7 is bigger than 5, so I'm going to round up. Remember, 5 is our halfway point, okay? 37 is closer to 40 than it is to 30. So I'm going to say he saw about 40 small dogs. Now we're just going to add together. 30 plus 40. Well, 30 plus 40 is 70. So we could say Angel saw about 70 dogs. He said he saw about 55 dogs. Would you say his answer is reasonable? No, right? 70 isn't really that close to 55, okay? So we would say no, because 70 is not close to 55, okay? So that's how you would answer that question. All right, let's try another one. A pet supermarket sold 245 bags of dog food and 167 bags of cat food. The supermarket sold 312 bags of cat food of pet food in all. Man, I can't read. Is their answer reasonable? Why or why not? Okay, so we are going to round. Let's round to the nearest. We could do hundreds. Yeah, we could do hundreds. Or we could do, let's do tens, just so we can get a more accurate answer. So 245 is dog food, and 167 is cat food. Now, notice that I had to decide if we're rounding to tens or hundreds. Usually on your math problems, it'll tell you. Round to the nearest 10 or round to the nearest 100 to find out if it's reasonable or not. I made this up on my own, so I forgot to put that part. Okay, 245 bags of dog food. If we're rounding to the nearest 10, here's my tens place. Here's my tens place. This is the number that's going to tell me if I'm going up or down. Remember when I'm rounding this one, here's my tens place. And this will tell me if I'm going up or down. 245 is between 240 and 250, right? Hopefully this is jogging your memory, okay? If I look at the 5, I know that I'm going to round up, Okay, even though 5, do you remember, is the exact midway point between the two 10s? Remember they just made that rule that they decided 5, even though it's right in between, going up and down, we're always going to round up when it's on 5. So 245 would round up to 250. Let's look at 167. 167 is between 160 and 170. Okay, I'm going to look at my ones to tell me if I go up or if I go down. 7 is bigger than 5, or the halfway point, so I'm going to round up. Okay, so I have about 170 bags of cat food and about 250 bags of dog food. I'm going to add them together. 250 plus 170. 0 plus 0 is 0. 7 plus 5 is, or 70 plus 50 is 120. 100, 200, 300, 400. 420, about. So is 312 bags of pet food reasonable? No, right? They're quite a bit a ways off. 420, okay, is about how many bags of dog food they had. So 312 would not be reasonable. Let's look at the next one. There were 432 people at the basketball game. 257 were sitting on one side. So that means about 175 people must have sat on the other side. Is their answer reasonable? I want you to round to the nearest 10 on this problem, okay? So I want you to pause the video, try it yourself, and when you find the answer, go ahead and push play. Go. All right, so let's try it, okay? There's 432 people in all, so I'm going to round that to the nearest 10. 432 is between 440 and 430. We're looking at the 2 to tell us if we're going to go up or down. 2 is less than 5, so I'm going to round down, okay? So 430 is the total amount of people that are at this basketball game. Oops. Okay, 430. Okay. I'm going to break it up into the two sides. 257. Let's round that one to the closest 10. 257. I'm going to round it 260 and 250. Which one is it closest to? If we look at our ones, 7 is greater than 5, so I'm going to round it up. Okay. 260 people on the other side, so they say about 175 on the other side. Let's test it out. If I take the total minus people on one side, I should get about 175 if it is reasonable. Let's see. 430 minus the 260 people on one side. 0 minus 0 is 0. Okay. 13 minus 6 is 7. And 300 minus 200 is 100. So we got about 170. Would you say that this answer is reasonable? I would say yes. They're only 5 off. That's really close, right? So that was by far the closest one we've had so far. I would say that this one is definitely reasonable. It was about 170 people on the other side. Awesome. Let's try another one. Brooke had 47 cookies that she baked, and Reese made about 73 cookies. Altogether, they made about 120 cookies. Is their answer reasonable? Is 120 actually close? Go ahead, pause the video, round it to the nearest 10, and try it yourself. All right, so let's look. Brooke had 47 cookies. So if I have 47, 47 is between 40 and 50. Okay, I'm looking at the 7. 7 is greater than 5, so I'm going to round it up. So Brooke baked about 50 cookies. Then let's look how many Reese did. Reese did 73. That's between 70 and 80. Okay, if I'm looking at the 3, 3 is smaller than 5, so I'm going to round down. Reese baked about 70 cookies. Okay, 70 that Reese baked, plus the 50 that Brooke baked. Let's see about how many cookies they did. 0 plus 0 is 0. 7 plus 5 is 12. 120 cookies. That is exactly what it said, right? So yes, I would say this answer is reasonable. All right, so that was today's lesson. Hopefully that made sense. Again, if you were having hard times with any of them, make sure you comment which one was tricky for you. You're also going to be showing your learning on the Google form, so make sure you fill out the Google form, but then make sure you also go to the assignment and put mark as done. You need to do 2 steps. I know it seems silly, but that's how it works on Google Classroom, okay? So by the end of this lesson, you were able to solve word problems that involve 2 or more steps, and you were able to assess reasonableness. Okay, nice job. So make sure you go do your practice form to show what you've learned. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good day, guys.